On a business trip to Denver, BET founder Bob Johnson and BET COO Debra Lee kissed for the first time. In another trip, they would sleep together, and this relationship would go on for years. And yes, they were both married. Now, a few years into the affair, she divorced Randy, and by 2002, Bob divorced Sheila. However, being officially free from their spouses didn't make things easier. After they were officially divorced, they had to do what many coworkers do when they're in a relationship: tell HR. They disclosed their relationship to Viacom because one, by 2000, BET had sold to the company, and two, it was part of the company policy. She thought that this would make it easier to tell others about their relationship and possibly they could be a power couple together. But quickly she learned that that would not be the case, as Bob liked the power he held over her. She said that, quote, "the imbalance of power is impossible to leave at the office," and, quote, "it could easily boil over every aspect of the relationship." Debra said that initially she would have assumed that this was a consensual relationship until she listened to other women during the Me Too movement that discussed how they too were manipulated by the power dynamics of their bosses, and this relationship was not only emotionally abusive, but occasionally physically abusive too, according to Debra. She said that if they would get into arguments, he'd revoke her travel privileges, which would frequently leave her stranded. Quote, "He used his power to punish me like a child. It was about embarrassing me, disrupting my schedule as a senior executive, and proving that in the end, Bob had all the control." She said that there would be times when she would be traveling with him for work and she'd be in her hotel room, only for him to get the key from the front desk and barge into her room without knocking nor asking. In 2004, a biography about Bob and BET came out. Around that time, Bob's ex-wife, Sheila, basically validated the rumor that many people had speculated for years. She told the author of the biography, quote, "That affair with Debra just hurt me more than anything because I knew her, and I couldn't believe she would do that." Now, once this was printed, Randy, Deborah's ex-husband, would call to ask if this was true and if she was dating Bob. Now, though she was, she lied and told him this was a baseless rumor. Then months later, Bob would throw Deborah a 50th birthday party just to publicly state his claim, just another way that he would throw his power around. In her memoir, she recalls moments where Bob would try to threaten her to resign. Once, she said she was done, she couldn't do this anymore. Bob said, quote, "If you're breaking up with me, then you'll have to quit." He called for an emergency conference call with senior executives to take place the following morning. But they'd rinse and repeat this chaotic relationship and get back together. But you can't just call for an emergency meeting with no reason, and you can't just call it off at a whim neither. So when asked what was the purpose of this meeting, he said the wildest thing: "I have cancer." No, he didn't. Debra said in that moment she truly saw him for what he was. She decided to just, quote, "hang on for 18 more months until his contract with Viacom expired." And then she finally experienced true freedom and control. She'd go on to take over his role as CEO of BET, a job she'd handle with equal criticism and success for 13 years. Now, how did Bob fare after Debra? You'll have to come back to see.